welcome to another episode of The Man Space. My co host, Coach Kunle, and I are deeply honored and moved week after week to feature different gentlemen from different walks of life, making their own version of impact to make this world a safer, gentler space that holds space for one another. Because we live in a world where men are taught from being young boys, you don't feel, you don't talk about feelings, you need to be strong, and strength is physical, it's not emotional. And we are doing a terrible disservice towards our sons, our husbands, our brothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, our co-workers. How do we create that space and place so that men of all ages are allowed to be human, human from the perspective of being feeling beings who have the capacity and capability to think and act? Because without that, they are only going to be a fraction of who they are capable of being. And we as women need our men to show up in their whole self, because that's what's going to allow us to show up in our whole femininity. So to have this conversation with us today is JM Ryerson coming to us, and his mission in life is to help everybody go out there and win. Let's go win is his motto in life. And he is going to give some insights and a roadmap for each of you to start balancing your drive, your passion, your purpose with your whole self. So, JM, talk to us a little bit about how you got to the point of helping people to go out there and win, because it's not something you grow up wanting to do. It's a place where you got to.
After I built and sold 3 companies in the financial space. And what happened, I wrote my first book for my wife, and I have 2 sons, 18 and 15-year-old sons. And the subject matter is so apropos because the first chapter of my book is on vulnerability. Now, mind you, I was raised in Montana. I was taught boys don't cry. And that's terrible advice, by the way, because literally or at least I was taught to take those emotions, you just stuff those things way down. And the problem with that is it blows up into this volcanic burst of chaos, and none of that's any good for anybody. So to answer your question, though, I wanted my sons to know that, look, here's some amazing lessons that I've learned along the way from my mentors and all the authors I've read from and my parents. And I wanted them to have something that if I was no longer here, my wife was no longer here, that they had a guide or a roadmap to, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's good to, simplify life. Simplicity is one of them. Courage, fun, transcend. These are some of the chapters in the book. And the gal I was working with said, "Man, you're selfish." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "If you only share this book with 2 human beings, you're selfish." And I said, "You're right." So we went ahead and published, and it's just taken me on what is my passion and my purpose in life, which is let's go win. As you mentioned, I'm all about inspiring people to live their best lives, their most authentic self. And so as I told you off air, what you guys are doing, I think is so important. I think it's so impactful. I'm very passionate about the subject of mental health, both men and women, but certainly with what's happened in my own background, how important the subject matter is for men specifically.
Wow, Jim, that's absolutely fantastic. That's wonderful. How you took that responsibility to nurture your sons, and then how that translates into, nurturing a whole lot of people, which you are doing currently. I think that's the responsibility each person, each, man who is listening, or every man, so to speak, who is watching this should take, because the time has come for us to go beyond talking about the problem, how the society has really create a narrative around how men should behave. You have to bottle up your emotions and all the rest. But the time has come for us to move beyond that and, do one of the things which the niche you have carved for yourself, which is winning. I want you to talk to us. Why do we still have narratives about men bottling their emotions? The more we talk about it, it seems we are still have not moved past that in workplaces, in our societies, in different homes. Why is it that it is still like a huge missing link in our society that we need to still keep creating conversations around in order to find solution, a
Yeah, it's a
long-lasting
great
one, so to speak?
question. Absolutely an incredible question, because it's so fascinating that there's almost been this shift to anti-masculinity, which I think is completely wrong as well. I think anytime you put labels on things, labels are not meant for human beings, man. They're meant for boxes, right? Like, I'm a man that has lots of layers to me. Yes, I'm a performance and mindset coach. Yes, I'm a husband. Yes, I'm a father. Yes, those are all things that I am, but at the core essence of who I am is, as Cass mentioned, is I'm a being. I'm a human being with feelings and emotions. And some of those are extremely masculine and some are feminine. But to say you have to be in a certain box or you have to look a certain way, it's just wrong, man. I at this point in the world, it's 2024, we're almost 2025. Anytime somebody says you're this or you're that, why? I really don't care if you are a man, a woman, black, white. None of that stuff matters to me. You know what matters to me is how you show up as a human being. And I think the more that we can get to that point, brother, where it's like, look, I just want somebody that treats others with respect, treats themselves with respect. And look, if they need to cry and express their emotion, I'm not going to judge them for that. In fact, I want to give them a hug and let them know you're okay. And if they have a fit of rage, I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, they're this awful human being. These are all just emotions, which, by the way, some people control them better than others. So, Kunle, it's a great question. I hope at some point we shed all these labels and we just get to the point of, okay, so like you're originally from Nigeria. I don't know a bunch about Nigeria. I'm really curious. Tell me more. That's interesting, but that's just where you're from. Now I can dig even further and say, hey, Kunle, what do you love, man? What are you into? And now you and I can bond on, maybe you're a dad, maybe you're passionate about sports, whatever that is. But instead, it's not, Nigeria is just where you happen to be from. You have this cultural experience, but it doesn't define who you are. Just like me being from Montana doesn't define who I am. So I think the more we can shed the labels and just see one another for being human beings, which is multifaceted and multi-layered, I think we're at a much better place.
I love where you're taking this conversation, JM, because I'm fundamentally a believer that we are each a being, and who we are being informs all our doing. And the most important relationship each of us are going to have is the divine within us, because we're each a soul who's having this temporary physical experience in the shell, because the shell gets shed, but the soul moves on, right? And so we're deeper than this residence we're occupying right now. And how do we honor that? How do we truly relate to that? And that being is fluid. That being is fluid to live its purpose. And it doesn't come with labels, it doesn't fit in boxes, right? And the sooner people understand that, the less pressure they put on themselves. and the less psychological damage they do to themselves. And the coaching you're doing in a very Western experiential way, you're taking people from being identifying themselves as what they do and the boxes they put themselves into opening up the box and finding the being and connecting with that being so that the being can go and win. And then all the doing becomes successful. So that's how I am interpreting it. And it's fascinating to me. Talk a little bit about what makes people live in those boxes, maybe because somebody put them there. And what are some of the ways in which you're helping them get out of the box? It's almost like a hamster in a cage. It's running anyway. What if we unmount the wheel and let the hamster run instead of running inside the cage?
Yeah, it's an insightful question because you mentioned the word Western, and so much of what I was raised in was it's like TV and news, and we really got away from the natural part of being, i.e., grounding outside in nature. I told you off air, meditation, breath work, yoga. These are all a huge part of my everyday ways to really connect to the higher source, to energy, and to really understand who I am as a being too, right? As you mentioned, we're experiencing this for a very temporary time, whether it's 100 years or 50 years. That's really like, it's so small in the grand scheme of things. And so what I try to do is all of the reading, all of the meditation, which is probably the most important part of my day, every single day, is just that quiet time to be with, whether it's thoughts or it's really connecting to whatever energy or frequency that's out there. Now, for some people, that's radical, man. You're talking like, really, you want me to sit cross-legged and you want me to, be in some it's like, no, I don't care if you do any of that. You know what I care about? Just spend some quiet time to really understand how you truly are feeling, what is actually happening as you're on this earth. And it's so I think to simplify everything, Cass, when I go to coach people, I try to simplify everything and say, look, it's a really, really busy world we're in. What do you really care about at the end of the day? So for me, my favorite F word is freedom, and it's not even close. And some may argue it's a different one, but I'm telling you right now, freedom is my favorite one. And then love and abundance. Those three words constantly come into me. And the reason being is because that's truly how we are meant to be, is we're supposed to be free, full of love and abundance. But yet somewhere along the line, we kind of lost that, and we got into school and then to a career, and then you're checking off all these boxes, and then you forgot to just enjoy the part of being. So I don't know if that's too far out there. It sounds like your audience is pretty okay with this ideology, and what I would say is I like to bring that to my clientele to say, look, I know you were taught some of this stuff, and that doesn't mean it's bad, but maybe we can open up the Eastern side of things and learn some of these ways that they've been doing for thousands and thousands, and probably further than I can ever know, years, so that we can truly show up as the best version of who we are.
Absolutely, absolutely insightful, JM. And I like the way you are really approaching this with every form of simplicity and precision. So everyone who's listening can just get a grasp of everything you are pouring out right in here. There is a question that just, popped up while you were speaking, and it has to do with your mantra, which is let's go win. And I think it talks about the collectiveness and then the collaborative effort it demands, that if you win and I win, together we are building, a community or a society together, which is going to create an impact generally. In other words, I am not winning alone while you are losing or failing or doing something otherwise. I want you to talk to us I want you to really center around that, the collaborativeness, the togetherness, and how we should have that kind of together mentality of winning together, whereby it's not going to just be like an individual winning alone, where all of us will come together and be a winner. So let's go win can be the mantra.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because often people are like, well, what does winning mean to you? Now, granted, I grew up playing sports. I played basketball in college, and I know the idea of win, lose, right? That's what we're taught in sports, that there's a winner and there's a loser. Well, I don't really think that's true, because how I've redefined losing, quote unquote, maybe I failed in that moment, but that's just a learning opportunity. So when I started researching winning, because I think I had this idea of what winning is. And then here's what's fascinating. This is such an interesting thing that came up. When you look up winning, there's one word that will come back over and over and over again, and it's self-belief, self-development, self-growth, self-love. This word self always shows up with winning. Now, why is that interesting? Because my company's name is Let's Go Win. So the three of us are creating something right now that we're creating a win-win-win for everyone, for us, for the audience. But it does start with us. So in order for me to show up as the best version of myself, I had to check in on 4 things. And this is a keynote that I've developed recently. So self stands for strengths, energy, love, and freedom. Now, for me to show up as the best version of me so we can win this morning, or I can win in whatever area I'm doing, I need to take care of me first. This is the interesting polarity of the subject, because I want to win together, but in order for us to do that, I have to show up as the best version of me. Hence why I do what I call the perfect morning routine, which includes my breath work for 11 minutes, then my meditation for 11 minutes, then my yoga for 11 minutes. Now, it goes further than that, but at the core basics, I need to pour into myself so I can now pour into your cup, not from an empty glass. And so it's fascinating that we have to focus on us first so that we can be the best teammates together, so that we can go win. And to sum it up, I don't believe in win-lose. I believe in creating win-wins. And the more we can do that, now what can we create? And my favorite quote is, it's amazing what can be accomplished if no one cares who gets the credit. And it's true. It's like, gosh, if I don't care who gets the credit, we can accomplish something amazing. But if I have to say, no, Kunle, I get all the credit, well, guess what? Now it's a win-lose. If it's a win-win, if I don't care if Kunle gets the credit or Kas gets the credit, we just found a way to win and achieve something greater than we could have by ourselves.
That is a fabulous mentality and the only sustainable mentality. If one person is going to win and everybody else is going to lose, there's no reason for them to show up. We have created an environment where nobody is going to show up for me because I'm going to hoard it. So I absolutely am fascinated with the way you are able to take perspective, give perspective, and embrace everybody and bring them into the fold, so that from a selfish perspective, they are doing it, but the selfishness can only work if that selfishness allows space for other people's selfishness, so that together we create that space. Collectively, as a human society, we're selfish about our own viability and our sustainability, right? And that is ultimately what this world needs. So as much as we are loving this conversation, I want to take a moment and have you do 2 things. One, share with our audience how they can get a hold of you, get your books, build a relationship with you, and reach out to you directly. And 2, if there was one nugget of wisdom you're going to leave with people on this day as you bring this conversation to a close, what is that one thing?
Well, Kas, Kunle, thank you for having me on. First off, let me just say that you guys are awesome. I love this conversation. To find me, look up Let's Go Win. You're going to see this face, good, bad, or indifferent. This is what I got. So here you go. All the free resources are on my website, letsgowin.com. If you want to get in touch with me, just go to info@letsgowin.com, send me an email, and let's connect. I love connecting with amazing human beings. The one nugget that I would give, and it's in the first chapter of my book, it's all about showing up as your authentic self. So often people put on masks so that they fit in. I think it starts about 5th, 6th, 7th grade. And we start putting on these masks so we fit in, and we keep putting them on. Well, guess what? That gets really heavy. You're carrying around all this mask. Masks are meant for parties. They're not meant for life. So what I would ask people to do is take those masks off, take them off, feel the weight come off, and just show up as you. That is beautiful. That's what people will absolutely be drawn to. Time is gone for trying to fit in, trying to look a certain way. You just being your authentic self, which, by the way, is the most powerful way a human being can show up, is the most impactful way that you can show up. So I would just give people the permission and say, give yourself the grace to just take off your mask and just be you, because you're amazing. People will absolutely be attracted and follow that all day long. So that would be my parting shot. And again, thank you both.
Thank you so much, JM. It's been amazing. It's been inspiring, and it's been absolutely fantastic with you on the man's space. And you also leaving us with that nugget. You take off the mask, and I know everyone who is watching right now is ready to do just that. And on that note, we will end this edition of the man's space. Dr. Kas and I will definitely be back with another great and inspiring guest on another edition, as we do week in, week out. Take good care of yourself and stay blessed.